So I did a rewrite on my script, and I finally was able to write the ending. And after doing that and also meeting with a potential fiscal sponsor, I got advice to not make a 40-minute short film. That, you know, when you go into the festival circuit, that 40-minute short films are pretty difficult to sell to a film festival, just because in that 40 minutes you can screen 4 to maybe 8 other films in that time span. So if the short film is not exceptionally good, well filmed, perfectly executed, then there's no point in doing it. Rather, you should just make a short feature film. And so I was like, okay, I can see that. So I've expanded the film into not a short film, but it is going to be about a 65-minute feature film. Also, I've restructured how I framed all the stories I want to tell in this world, because there are so many interesting characters that inhabit this environment in this landscape that is Amityville, that I wanted to do more than just make one film. And originally the idea was to make this short film about Johnny and use that as a catalyst to interest people in the bigger character, which is the Conjure Doctor, and have a feature film based around him. But now that I'm thinking about it, a more interesting thing would be to create a trilogy. So make 3 feature films that spotlight 3 different characters, 3 different character stories, and be innovative with it. So not the problem with trilogies, but oftentimes the issues that I have with sequels or trilogy films or any type of film that is based off of a world and they keep adding more and more films to it after the fact because they see the success that comes after it. The problem with those is that they're always the same story. It's the same story rejiggered, told in exactly the same formula in the exact same way. You can look at Black Panther, you can look at Marvel films, at Iron Man, at Ant-Man, at Friday movies, the Friday sequel. You can look at Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. You can look at television series like CSI, Criminal Minds, Law and Order SVU. You can look at Kill Bill series. You can look at any film that's a package type of film, like Spider-Man, like especially action. That's why I'm not a big fan of action films, because it's the same story over and over again. If I watch the first film, I don't need to watch the other ones. It's not anything fun or exciting or new or different. And I don't want to approach this trilogy film about Amityville and about this anthology series in the same way, because these are all very different stories, different characters, and I want to add more variety and be more innovative in storytelling rather than the traditional method of creating a standardized formula that you can just pump out the same content over and over again with no originality, nothing different. You know, audiences know what they're going to expect, and it kind of gets stale and redundant. So instead of doing trilogies that way, I've decided to create a trilogy film where each film in the trilogy is going to be its own distinct film in terms of genre and style and character. Most times, films often will take the same duplicable formula about, you know, this happens at this minute, this happens at minute 30, this needs to happen at minute 45, there's going to be some major plot twists, we get to the big action fight sequence, blah blah blah. And instead of doing that, you know, and normally when they also do that, all they do is just change the character. And, you know, they changed the characters, they changed the villains that they were fighting after, but it was still the same movie. It still had the same essence, the same beats. You got the same emotions that, you know, you were expecting from the film, and there was nothing really new that stood out about the film. I want to do something different. I want to try something different to see if it works, because I've never seen it done before. I've never seen a trilogy or a series where each episode or each film that comes out of the series is different. You know, I want to, have this first film about Johnny Wesley be a thriller, a neo-noir thriller. I want the second film to be a supernatural fantasy epic journey type of film. I want the third film to be, who knows what that one's gonna be. That could be a comedy. It's all these different elements that I want I want these stories to be different. I don't want them to be the same. I don't want you to ever think that you can predict the outcome, because that's not how life is. You can never predict how life is gonna turn out. And to deprive audiences and viewers of the experience of experiencing a life on screen, as a filmmaker, you're doing them a disservice. I don't want you to ever think you know how something's gonna end, because you shouldn't. As the film architect, you should never know what's gonna happen. I always want to keep some in the back pocket for you guys, because you need to stay on your toes and be ready so you don't gotta get ready, so I would love to do that with this trilogy of films. And really get deeper into the worlds and all these different little elements that are going on in this film, explore different characters. Because another thing that I think is interesting and why I want to attack each of these films with a different strategy is because you hear it all the time that everybody has a story. Everybody has a different story to tell. But not only does everybody have a different story, but everybody has different perspectives and they experience life in a different way. So to tell Johnny's story the same way that I would tell the Conjure Doctor's story, the same way that I would tell Aunt Judy's story, or the same way that I would tell Miss Bradley's story is false. It's incorrect. It's wrong. It's not how people are. Some people might think that they're cursed, like Johnny does. He thinks he's just cursed. Some people think that they're cursed and live their life that way. Some people have a very light-hearted attitude about their lives, and they reflect that. They're very light and jokesters, and they love to laugh and smile. Some people are always just very sad and brooding. There's different type of characteristics for everybody. Some people are always just mad about something. They can't wait to get mad about something just so they can feel alive, just so they can feel anything. And I think that is just very interesting, and I would love to apply that type of design thinking to this film, because it's something that I've never seen before. It's something new and innovative, and all these ideas at the end of the day have to come from God, because there's no way that I would just think of this or understand that that's what I want to make, because these ideas keep changing and evolving over time. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know it's going to be damn good. So make sure that when the fundraising link drops, you donate and support our film. Not only are you able to contribute to 10 different filmmakers coming together to create some magic, but you are also able to get a tax deduction and a write-off. And who don't want that? 100% of everything you donate is going to be able to be a tax deduction. So you'll be able to help us. You'll be able to do good. 7% of all the funds that we raise are going to go to an amazing nonprofit called Hope Givers, where they give children and teens the opportunity and access to create films and to learn and to workshop and to have communion with each other and just absorb actual filmmaking for the art of it, and starting at a young age. If I would have understood that what I was doing demonstrated that I had a passion for film, I would have gotten into this when I was 10, because I was already doing all these things. I was already doing theater productions and church plays and church productions, putting on fundraisers, organizing events, backstage, doing set design and set deck. I was watching films all the time. If I had someone that really nurtured that talent when I was younger, I think that I would have been able to start a lot sooner and get off to a better head start than I did, and have a little bit more direction in my life. So I think it's a great cause. It's a great organization. We can't wait to partner with them. And as always, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.